This is as strong a group of England players I've ever known.
They offered Southgate the job before they offered Sam the job.
A week Germany, a week Italy, a week Spain. Just might be their time.
He's a manager not making key decisions at the business time of games.
He comes on the sub and lights up the place. Gareth's under pressure to start with him.
Welcome to another episode of Simon and Souness.
I'm starting.
Go ahead.
What would you define as success for England at the Euros this year?
Wouldn't you?
Nothing less than a win.
Wouldn't you? Well, listen, I mean, ultimately, you've got to give nuance to that conversation, because if you get to the semi-finals and you get a player sent off and you miss a penalty in the last minute and they go and win a game 1-0, the opposition, you can turn around and go, well, that might have been unlucky. But if you don't have any of those extenuating factors, it's a win, right?
I agree. For me, I would go as far as say this is as strong a group of England players I've ever known.
I would agree. What?
Do you?
And I would also go further than that and say that the opposition they've got potentially is some of the weakest opposition they've had over the years.
And
all the stars have aligned, yeah.
Even, a week Germany.
Yep.
A week Italy. A week Spain. Just might be their time.
Listen,
do you think that pressure will affect them? That
Southgate
like
players?
Us, I think both the manager and the players. Do you think that pressure that they will go to England they will go to Germany as the favourites for the tournament?
Well, you can't. You've had plenty of experience now. You've been to a World Cup semi-final. You've been to a European Championship final. You've had an opportunity in Qatar in the quarters against the French. You've had this. You've had this narrative. You've lived it for 6 years now. So you know that at the end of the day, it gets dark. But at the end of the day, you have a situation where you've got to deliver an outcome. And if you can't cope with that, then you shouldn't be in situ in the first place. So I don't think there's any excuse or any opportunity for pressure to form part of the thinking.
Mm-hmm. You've never been a big fan of Southgate?
No, I'm all right with him, but I'm just not in that camp where we get this. You know this, Graeme, more than I do. People are either heroes or zeros. There's nothing in between, and I think that's crap. And sometimes people get lionised for certain things and turned into things. I think Southgate has done really good things. I think his communication with the media, which tragically, for me, the media want to pick England teams, they want to pick prime ministers, they think they know better than everybody else. So I quite like the fact that he's slowed down the narrative from the media, and it's not about building people up so you can knock them down. He's built harmony in that respect. And the fact that we've had to listen quite poorly, I think, over the years, that there were factions in the England camp that didn't get on, and he's managed to harmonise that. So if that is indeed the case, you've got to give credit where credit's due. Mm-hmm. Then you look at the on-field stuff, your area of expertise, and I'll throw it out there and you tell me if I'm thinking wrongly as a non-football person. If you have had an opportunity...
He can't resist leaning a bit on me, can he? We were getting on so well, right.
If you have an opportunity to change the game against the Croatians and you don't, when they're getting into ascendance in the game, if you have an opportunity to win a European Championship at home and you wait until the Italians score before you change, if you have an opportunity to step on the throat with the French when you've got them and you don't take it, there seems to be a common denominator, which is a manager not making key decisions at the business time of games. So that's where I go, well, I'm not entirely happy that you have the winning mentality that's required, like Mancini had in that game. Mancini knew what to do. He knew what to do in that game against England.
That'd be my criticism of Gareth. I think I'd want to be more proactive. I think playing two holding midfield players in games that you're going to win.
Let them off the leash.
I think it's all. Football is not where you can flick a switch, and you go up a gear. You must always start right.
Yeah.
If you were in any dressing room anywhere in the country, unless it's changed dramatically, the last thing you would hear from a coach or coaches or manager is make sure we start right. So if you got you're a little bit cautious with the way you're going to play, you're handing the initiative to the opposition. I take the French game, perfect example.
We sat and watched them for 20 minutes and admired them.
Oh, these are good players.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, no, we're going to come out, we're going to dominate you, we will set the tempo of the game, we're going to play our game. And I think England have so many good players today in the forward positions. That is their strength, which normally, in most teams, it's always the other way around. You got a good goalkeeper, and you've got a fabulous back four, and a really strong midfield. They've got so many scoring midfielders, and they've got Harry Kane. And I think unless Harry gets an injury, Bellingham has put himself into that category as well. They get injuries, then a big part of the threat going forward for anything is taken away.
Yeah.
And at that point, I would think they wouldn't be favourites. But going there with a fit Bellingham and a fit Harry Kane and a load of others that are fit and on it, I make them favourites.
Does he manage like a centre-back?
Yes, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I when I look at a game of football, I'm thinking midfield first. I'm sure Gareth looks at a game of football and thinks, if we don't concede anything, we've got players who can nick a game. I think that's how he sees it.
Right.
We've got so many good players that'll get us a goal. If we just defend properly and keep a clean sheet, we'll nick stuff. But I look at the two friendlies, England played at Wembley recently. But, you know, Brazil played them off the park. You know,
and a Brazil side that's been out of sorts, by the way.
And Belgium, you know, were a really good outfit. But I want you to take fight to that. I'm paying England enormous credit. I think they've got a fabulous group of players. Be proactive. Go and take teams on and say, we're better in every department and we'll outscore you at the end of the day.
I know you don't like crystal ball analyses, but I would be curious to see if you think that win, lose, or well, not draw because you can't draw, but win or lose in this European Championships, there's a distinct possibility that he'll leave. If he wins, maybe he'll have the wonderful adage of being able to leave with people wanting more, which is very rare because you've got to win. If he was to leave, and I won't ask you to predict whether he leaves or not, I'll predict it and just say that he does. Do you think somewhere like, because it's been linked, and I find it perplexing, and maybe it's just because I've got some form of bias, I don't think I have, but let's just say I have for the purpose of this conversation. Can you see him landing at Manchester United?
I'm not sure. See, I've never done that. I've never been a manager of a national team, but I know it's a very different job. You know, you can't buy players. You don't have enough time to coach them because you spend so little time with them. You're picking them you're picking a player and playing them in a position where you're passing that. You have that opinion of what you've seen them play for the clubs and how well they've done. As a manager of a football team, he's had one go at it and it didn't end well from then getting relegated at Middlesbrough. So many more decisions to make as a club manager. Could I see him at a big club? I don't know. I think I'm more inclined to... I may have said yes to this recently. I could see him at United.
Did you?
I'm not sure if I did or not. But in my head, there's part of me saying yes and there's part of me saying no. Maybe I dreamt it. But I think it's whoever the new manager of United is a difficult one. But he will get a big job.
Do you think he will get a big
job? I think
job?
Like a big
top
job.
6 club?
I think yeah. I mean,
really?
England, what if he goes and wins the Euros?
Yeah, with a wonderful group of players that he doesn't manage on a daily basis.
I think his stock is high, and I think there'll be opportunities abroad at big clubs as well.
I'm trying to work out where England go after Southgate. If indeed he goes, where would they go? I don't know. I've never really been bothered. I spoke to Matt Letizia, and he was like, if a qualification to play for England is you've got to be English, a qualification to play for Scotland, you've got to be Scottish, then surely a qualification to manage a team you've got to be English or you've got to be Scottish. In this globalised world that we live in, I'm in a space where the best man for the job, I don't care where you come from as long as I've got a winning team.
Well. Ideally, an Englishman.
In an ideal world, yeah.
Ideally, understanding our culture, understanding the supporters who turn up and understanding our press. There are issues with foreigners coming in to do that job. But
it's easier said than done, though, isn't it?
But it's not possible.
It's easier said than done because is there any candidates leaping out to manage a national side?
Well, you would take Alonso, wouldn't you? England would take Alonso.
Yeah, no, not as a foreigner. Yeah, of course I would. After one season, I would like to see a bit more.
It's a madness.
It's a remarkable achievement he's got. But I'm talking about an Englishman because in the ideal world where people go, it has to be English or it has to be Scottish. Okay, well, who's your candidates then? And then people's arguments sort of runs dry.
But Gareth came from nowhere. I said one job was Middlesbrough, then he was an under 21
he was inside the setup. And when I spoke to Sam Allardyce, I didn't know this. I don't know if you know this, but Sam told me that they offered Southgate the job before they offered Sam the job. So after the 2016 debacle with Iceland and all the ridicule that went with Roy Hodgson, right? The FA went to Southgate and offered him the job, and he had the wherewithal at that time to turn it down, so I'm not ready for it. And then a few months later, he was ready for it because they came back and said, look, we've got this situation with Sam. But it's interesting that the FA were already thinking, post-Hodgson, we weren't going to go for another established manager. We were going to go for someone that was inside our group, that wasn't going to be controversial, that wasn't going to cause any ructions. And maybe we've got a generation of younger players coming through, and he manages them already in the 21s.
There's not ructions. He's had an easy ride. The results have been
what
good.
I mean? With Venables, there was ructions. With Brian Clough getting a job once upon a time, they wouldn't have fitted in with the FA mentality.
Gareth Southgate's results have been good.
Yeah.
So there's not been criticism coming his way. If there has, very little. And everything in the garden is rosy right now. He's not really had to deal with any major issues.
They had a couple, didn't they? When they had Foden and Mason Greenwood behaving badly in Reykjavik during during COVID and a few other issues that he's had to deal with. But most of the on-field stuff has been pretty much plain sailing. Besides people's disappointment with that Southgate doesn't flick the switch or pull the trigger when he needs to. Are you? Where are you?
That was an easy one to deal with, by the way.
Yeah,
a couple of kids.
Yeah, I suppose so. Not big players, were they?
Yeah, it
at that time.
A major one to me.
No. Where are you on the idea that Foden, Kane, and Saka are picking themselves? Are they, in your minds, absolute shoo-ins?
I don't think Saka is.
You don't think Saka is?
No, I think Foden would be in there.
Really?
And I think Kane would be.
Hasn't set the world light for England, though, has he? Foden. Has for Man City. But look at the players he's got around. Look at the team he's in.
Yeah, but he's also in a good team. Anyway, in my opinion, I think Foden's
a shoo-in.
Yeah. Harry's a shoo-in.
Harry's a shoo-in, but not Saka.
I think he starts with Saka, but I tell you, I think the boy Cole Palmer...
Well, that's what I was going to ask you next.
Huh?
But he's not playing in the same position as Saka, though, is he?
No, but I think, you're going to shuffle the pack. He's another attacking midfield player.
Palmer has been playing in a poor side at times, whereas Foden's been playing in a very oiled machine, hasn't he?
The top team, yeah. I can't help but think that they must regret selling him. I know they dress it up now that both parties were happy.
Yeah.
I think, in an ideal world, he would have wanted to have kept him. I see Palmer like this. I think he doesn't start in the first game in Germany, but he gets on.
Right.
And I think beyond that, you might see him in the team, in the starting 11. He comes on a sub and lights up the place, and then Gareth's under pressure to start with him.
If there's a midfield spot available when Trent Alexander gets in there, do you think that's an option?
Yeah, again, I think Trent...
Are you in a camp that you can defend?
One thing at a time. Is defending as a fullback, as defending as a midfield player.
Yeah.
No, one-on-one when he's a fullback, he's not the best. He's getting better, and that is something you will get better at. But he should have grasped it fully by now, given the people he's worked with, given the team he plays for, and he's such a fabulous player. He should have got that by now. Like his substitute has that already. The young Irish boy. Irish boy.
Conor Bradley.
I think he has that already.
Yeah.
But
he's a natural defender.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Trent Alexander has like every single club in the bag. Every pass you want to make, he can make. And if you're bossing a game, if you're on the back foot, no. If you're bossing the game and you're having lots of the ball and he's on lots of the ball, he will pick passes that.
So would you play Trent in the midfield?
Well, he won't. He won't because he wants to hold he wants to have the two holding midfield players.
Right.
So I'm rock solid in midfield. Won't give anything away. Against the better teams, I get why you go down that road. But against the lesser teams, there's no need to go down that road.
So Trent's not going to get in the team, is he?
I think he gets in the team when you're chasing someone.
What comes into the side when there's a change?
When you're chasing someone, when you need to create something. Because I come back to it. Him on the ball, you don't want him anywhere near your goal if you're playing against him, because he can slot them in accurately from 30 yards, and he can pick a pass anywhere from 50, 60 yards out. He's got ridiculous qualities.
Do you think he signs a new deal with Liverpool?
Well, where do you go if you're there's nowhere else in England you go. So beyond England, where would you go if you were him? You wouldn't go to Barcelona right now. You certainly go to Real Madrid. Would you go to Bayern Munich? Possibly. But I think that's only PSG, no. So if you're leaving Liverpool, I think there's only two places. You've asked me the question, my instant thought is there's maybe only 2 places you would go. Possibly Bayern Munich. Definitely Real Madrid if they come in for you.
What do you make of some of the observations that are being made about Harry Kane in big games? That he doesn't get to it in big games. And when it comes down to it, I mean, there's no doubt Harry Kane is a remarkable player. But the observations have been made about European Cup finals, big games, where Harry Kane hasn't been quite influenced. And they'll make it about the Champions League semi-final against Madrid, where he's on the receiving end of a loss, which he didn't contribute much to the opportunity to win from. You think there's anything in that? Big game player. He's a big game player.
He's a big game player. Yeah. Will score big goals in big games. That lack of winning trophies has fallen to Bayern Munich, where I thought it would have been guaranteed to get something this year, and it's not happened for him. So he'll be hurting. But personally, on a personal one, it's important to goal scorers. I mean, was it 40 goals or something?
It's remarkable, yeah.
I mean, he is a goal scorer, and he does turn up in big games. So I would not accept that criticism.
Missed the penalty against France though when we needed him to score a goal. Didn't score in a European Championship final.
But he does turn up in big games. So if England are a big game and he's not turned up, Southgate take him off?
What do you think?
No.
You don't think he takes him off?
No. Because I'm not.
What are you going to replace him with? I'm
not sure who you'd replace him with. And in the back of your mind as a manager, you're knowing he is a proven goal scorer. He will get you a goal. But Harry's not just a goal scorer.
He's a player.
He can drop off, hold the ball and pick a pass, weight it correctly, angle it correctly. No, he does a lot more. He'll chip in with assists. He's not just a goal scorer.
Then you must have fallen off your chair when you watched Tuchel.
In what respect?
Substituting Harry Kane and Leroy Sané in the Madrid game when they're 1-0 up, he takes off any option if it goes wrong. So he had the balls to do it, and
it was a mistake. You know, Sané seems to do a good sort of 70 minutes. In the recent games I've been watching Bayern Munich, whether that's been a consistent through the whole campaign, or Sané's maybe carrying a wee bit of something at the moment, but he seems to come off after a period of time. Taking Harry off, dangerous, because Harry's bright. Harry could drop into, that just in front of your midfield 10, and be part of the defensive setup as well.
But do you think that's a lacking in Southgate? I mean, we famously saw years and years ago Graham Taylor take off Gary Lineker in a game because he wanted to change it up, and ultimately England got knocked out. I think against the Dutch or the Swedes, one of the two. But it might be against the Denmark team, actually. But in 2018, when they played the Croatian, I don't know if you remember back that far, and obviously Harry Kane has morphed into a far more important player now. They didn't take him off in that game, and they needed to change. They maybe put a Vardy in to be able to run the Croatians and a tiring back four. If you haven't got that preparedness to take the player off, irrespective of what he's doing, isn't that a weakness in management?
I don't think it's black and white with any player. I mean, we're all capable of having stinkers, but I just think, what I touched on before, if I'm taking my top goal scorer off, and it does go pear-shaped for us in the last 10 minutes...
You've got to live with it.
Who am I bringing on? I get Harry ain't going to stretch the back four. Why not take someone else off and keep Harry on? If you were chasing a game, you're not taking Harry Kane off. If it's a tight game and it's a 1-0 or a 2-1,
you want that.
It goes pear-shaped.
You want the clinical finish on the pitch.
Yeah, exactly.